Come to the front of your mat and come to Tadasana, mountain pose. Take a moment to find a steady foundation with your feet just wide enough that you feel well balanced. Let's move into Ujjayi breath, victorious breathing that's created by placing a gentle tone in the back of your throat. Just enough that when you breathe, the air moves through this space with friction and it creates a sound. A sound like the distant waves of the ocean. Now moving with your next inhale, float your arms up overhead with your palms facing each other. Then bend your knees, fold from your hips and bow into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. As you inhale, come up to a halfway lift and lengthen out your spine. And then exhale, gently bow back in. Bend your knees again. Inhale, come up to stand, up to a full stretch. Great, and mountain pose as you breathe out. Okay, let's do that again. Ujjayi breathing, inhale, sweep your arms up. Then bow in from your hips, a slow descent. When you breathe in, a halfway lift to lengthen. And exhale, fold back in. Rise up to stand, take your time to stretch out and to reach up, and then mountain pose as you breathe out. Okay, this one we'll move on a little further with an inhale, starting the same, reach your arms up, but then bend your knees, Utkatasana chair. And I promise it won't be a long hold. Let's take about 3 slow breaths. I'm saying this to you, I'm also saying this to Chris, because mountain or chair pose is not on the top of his favorite pose list. It is not, no. Okay, so take one more slow inhale. When you breathe out, bow forward, lift your hips, Uttanasana. And place your hands to blocks to the ground. Step your right foot back and take a nice long stride down your mat. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders. So again, your hands can be on blocks if your hips feel a little bit tight. We're going to hold a runner's lunge for a few breaths. So with your left foot really firm to the mat, roll your left hip back, and hug your right thigh bone forward. You get a bit more engaged through your inner thighs. Also lift your pelvic floor gently up and your lower belly gently up. So you're hugging the basket of your pelvis in, tightening the weave. Now each time you breathe in, stay with the stability of your hips, but lengthen your chest forward. And when you exhale, take your time, breathe out slow, remembering the friction of Ujjayi breath. One more slow inhale. And a long exhale. Okay, set your right knee down to the mat. Bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot and wiggle your left foot loose. Extend your foot gradually back until you can press your heel towards the wall behind you, or maybe you're outside. Turn your left toes down and bring your right hip directly over top of your right knee. Now you can stay on both hands or extend your right fingertips forward, opposite arm to leg. Okay, with a slow inhale, hold the pose, and maybe you stay still, or on the exhale, bend your elbow and your knee and hug in. Then as you inhale, stretch forward and back. Great. As you exhale, bend your knee, bend your elbow 2 more times. Inhale, reach out. And then exhale to curl. And then 1 more time with an inhale. And an exhale. Okay, extend your leg back, but place your right hand down to the ground. Lift again from your belly button towards your spine so you're nice and stable, and flex your lifted left foot. Look over your left shoulder and carry your left foot wide out to the side, and then place your left foot down to the ground off beside your mat. Bring your left hand underneath the center of your chest. Move your hips back just enough that your lower back feels long, and then bring your right hand up to your hip. So that was actually just a little bit far, just so, yeah, great. Let's take a twist, turn your chest towards the right, and if you wish, reach your right arm up. So that's if your top shoulder feels okay to take that reach. Then if you have room to glide your shoulder blades down your back, that's an engagement of your upper back, which helps give you more room to breathe. And be gentle where you can, but then strong where you can. Ujjayi breath, victorious breath. So it helps us lean into the difficult, lean into discomfort. Now, when you breathe out next time, bring your right hand down. Also slide your left knee by your right knee. And then walk your hands a palm length ahead of your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide and bring yourself forward just enough that your shoulders are over your wrists. This is low plank pose. You're also welcome to tuck your toes and lift your knees. You can decide what your wrists and shoulders feel best with. Keep your neck stable. Hug your inner thighs towards each other. Bring a bit of toning through the basket weave of your pelvis, lower belly, pelvic floor. And then when you breathe out next time, bend your elbows and come right down to the mat. Okay, when you arrive on your mat, untuck your toes and then reach your hands back. Either clasp your hands or keep your palms facing your hips if your shoulders are better that way. Shalambhasana pose, press down through your hips, lift through your chest. Reach your hands back as a way to help keep your shoulders lifted. And your feet can stay down or you can lift your feet up. And if you notice when Chris lifted his feet, his chest rocked forward, and this is completely natural. You need to recenter yourself. Your center of gravity moves a little more towards your lower ribs. Okay, so the next time you breathe in, lengthen, and if there's room, also add some lift. And then exhale, bring your palms down by your ribs. We'll move back to either child's pose or downward facing dog. So the first time in either of these poses, child's pose, is bringing your hips back towards your heels with your toes untucked. If you'd like to go to down dog, then curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back. Let's take about 3 slow breaths. Yeah, if you're in down dog and your feet and ankles feel a little tight, then you could walk out your heels also. Now, if you're in child's pose, you're welcome to come up to your hands and knees. And if you're in down dog, you're welcome to stay in down dog or come down to your hands and knees. We're going to take a second lunge with your left leg. So from either place, lift your left leg up and step your left foot forward. Bring your right knee down to the mat. It can also go on a soft cushion. And then push your left foot down and lift your upper body and bring your hands up to your hips. Okay, let's pause for a moment. Just as you did in the runner's lunge, draw your left hip back, so you're a little bit deeper into the fold of your left hip crease, and hug your right hip forward. And then lift up through your chest, so you bring some space to your lower back, and your hands can stay at your hips, or reach your arms up with your palms facing each other. And you can see that Chris is being really active with his left foot. So it's not just gravity that's keeping your foot on the ground, but you press directly down through the ball of your foot so you can stay lifted through the center of your chest. Now, as you exhale next time, lean forward, bring your hands down underneath your shoulders. Tuck your back toes, lift your right knee, and then step your right foot forward and come up to a halfway lift, lengthen out your spine. And as you exhale, bow in. Okay, let's come up to stand. As you inhale, rise up slow and reach up. And then mountain pose, bring your arms down. Okay, the other side, as you breathe in, reach your arms back up, a little wardrobe adjustment. Bend your knees for chair pose, and we're holding for about the same length of time. So, assuming that you have your balance, then you can move up to what you do with your upper body, and your arms could be extended, but you could also bring your hands to heart center. Just work where your shoulders feel best. And to add a little more core support for your lower back, lengthen down through your tailbone and lift up through the center of your chest. Okay, almost through the pose. Make sure your breath is strong. And when you exhale next time, lean forward, lift your hips, add a bit of stretch through your back body, Uttanasana. Now step your left foot back into a long lunge stride. Walk your hands under your shoulders. This is a place where you bring blocks with you, or your hands can come directly to your mat. Push down firmly through your hands. It's going to give you a little more wiggle room through your hips. And then roll your right hip back and hug your left thigh bone forward. And then lift gently through your pelvic floor, so that is certainly not a clenching, it's just a gathering, and through your lower belly towards your spine. So as your pelvis is now more stable, lengthen out through the center of your chest. So your spine has lots of length. And then if there's room to roll your shoulders back more, you could also do that too, making your neck a little longer. Okay. Again, coming towards the end of the pose. Let your breath guide you. When you feel the exhalation, rest your left knee down to the mat. Bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot, so your right foot can move, drag it down your mat, or lift it and stretch your foot out behind you. Bring your left hip over your left knee, your hands underneath your shoulders. Both hands can stay down or extend your left fingertips forward this time. Okay, sunbird pose. This is one where you can stay still, or if you'd like to add movement, bend your elbow and knee and hug them in towards each other. Let your spine round, and then inhale, come back to a long spine, long leg. Exhale, bend your knee to curl. 2 more, inhale to stretch out. And exhale to curl in, and then 1 more time, an inhale. And an exhale. Bring your left hand down to the ground. Keep your right foot flexed, look over your right shoulder, and then float your right foot wide off to the side. Place the sole of your foot down to the ground. Bring your hips back just about 1 centimeter or so you're over your knee and foot, and then place your right palm underneath your chest. To twist, turn towards the left. Bring your left hand to your left hip. And it can stay there, or if you have room to reach up through your hand, you can as well. And keep your hips drawn back so your spine is anchored in its length. And roll the right side of your rib cage underneath you, the left side of your rib cage over you. Yeah. Let's release. Bring your left hand down. Lift your right foot. Bring your right knee by your left knee. Let's move to plank pose. Walk your hands ahead of your shoulders. Spread your fingers. Shift yourself forward so you're bringing more of your weight over your arms. Tuck your toes. If you wish, lift your knees. If not, keep them on the mat. Push the ground away from you as you inhale. As you exhale, move forward and down and make a soft landing on the mat. And then untuck your toes. Reach your hands back. We're moving to Shalabhasana again. If you clasped your hands, try to put the opposite pinky finger on top, opposite thumb on top. Press down through your pelvis. Lift through the fronts of your shoulders. With straight legs, your feet can stay on the ground, or lift your legs up. And your neck is part of the back bend, but with no exaggeration from what you're doing in the rest of your spine. So lift up through the back edges of your ears so you keep your neck long, but part of the long bow shape of your spine. Okay. When you're ready, settle down, release, bring your palms down, curl your toes under, push away from the ground. This could be to child's pose again or to downward facing dog. Take a few breaths to help settle. And both of these poses offered are forward folds. So both of those poses promote a longer exhalation. They're time to ground, time to turn inward and just notice how you feel. Your body warmer, more open. As before, maybe show the second option this time. As before, you can come up to your hands and knees or down dog. Extend your right leg back, and then step your right foot forward up to your right hand. You can take it either way. Yeah, step your right foot forward, and we're creating a low lunge. So once your right foot is up, bring your left knee down to the mat, unless it's already there. Push down through your right foot, bring your hands to your hips, lift your upper body. Now, while your hands are on your hips, roll your right hip back and hug your left hip forward. So your hands are a good indicator of your alignment. Lift up through the center of your chest. Again, give your back some space, and your hands can stay at your hips or reach your arms up. And keep your right foot active, pressing down to help float your upper body. It helps remind you of your foundation. And each time you breathe, try to take time on the exhalation to bring a good ending to the cycle of breath before you breathe in again. When you Exhale next time. Lean forward, bring your hands down. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, and then step forward, come up to a lift. As you exhale, fold in. All right, let's come up to stand. So breathe in to lift your chest, lift your arms, full stretch, and then mountain pose again. Okay, let's pause in mountain pose for a couple breaths. Just find your center again. Yeah, any wardrobe adjustments you need, go ahead. All right. Now bring your hands together to heart center. We're going to take a careful, controlled step back to warrior two. Keep your left foot on the ground, put a little bend in your knees. Lift your right heel. When you're ready, float your right foot up and step your right foot back. Take a long stride, a slow stride. And when your toes land, spin your heel flat and then turn your upper body open towards the right side of your mat and open your arms out into a T shape too. Bring your left knee over your left heel. And with the ball of your left foot firm to the mat, open your left knee towards the left. Great, and then hug your feet in towards each other so you feel the strength of your inner thighs. And bring a quality of calm through your shoulders and your jaw. Okay, now we're going to move this to extended side angle. Reach out through your left arm, let your pelvis tilt. Either bring your left elbow to your thigh or your hand to a block or the ground underneath your shoulder. Yeah, so once your left arm is grounded, it does become a weight-bearing point of foundation. Push into it to help turn your upper body towards the right. Roll your shoulders back, and your right hand can stay at your hip or reach up or turn your palm forward and extend forward. Okay, extended side angle is a big pose. It's an energy pose. It's one that you need your breath, you need the depth of your breath to help keep you steady, to help time roll along. So open up your breath for a couple more cycles, ujjayi breaths. You can hear yourself, you can hear your effort. Great. And then look down to the ground. We're going to move to a wide-legged forward fold, so stay facing the right side of your mat, straighten out your left leg, and pivot your feet to face the long right side of your mat. As you inhale, lengthen out your spine, plant your left hand underneath your chest, and then exhale to turn towards the right. Lift your right hand up. If you like, reach up as you inhale, take your fingertips apart from each other. And then exhale, bring your right hand back down to the ground. Trading hands, keep your right hand down. As you exhale, bring your left hand to your left hip, and then moving with an inhale, press down to reach up, and exhale, bring your left hand down too. Walk your feet in just a little bit closer to one another, and then bring your heels in closer than your big toes. Bend your knees, goddess pose. So as you come upright, take your knees wide, take your elbows wide. It's an action like warrior two with both legs. So keep the balls of your feet planted, press your knees open, and lengthen down through your tailbone, up through the center of your chest. Okay. Right. Now, bring your hands onto your hips, stretch out your legs, heel toe your feet in towards each other. And then take a turn towards the front of your mat, a couple steps forward. Okay, before we meet the other side, bring your hands to the back of your hips. Hug your elbows in towards one another, and with an inhale, lift up through the center of your chest and let your palms press into the back of your hips. So you bring some space into the front of your body. You're even welcome to press your hips forward into a bit of extension, opening up the space that you were folded into. Then bring your head back up and your arms back down by your sides. Okay. Now moving in towards balance, this time you'll be standing on your right foot. It's a balance and motion that will take you back to warrior two. Bring your hands to your hips, shift into your right foot, lift your left heel, and then step your left foot back, take a long stride, moving slow. Once your toes find the mat, some relief, spin your heel flat and turn open towards the side, turning away from your right inner thigh. And open your arms out wide in a T shape. Okay, lunge your right knee over your right heel. And keep the ball of your right foot anchored as you nudge your right knee towards the right. You can even use your palm as a guide to your outer right thigh to help you move your hand into your leg. Again, hug your feet in towards each other so you can feel your inner thighs at work and your right hamstrings at work. Standing up tall, but with a quality of softness in your shoulders. Now, keeping the same foundation, reach out through your right arm, tilting sideways, and either bring your elbow to your thigh or your hand down to a block or the ground. And Chris just shifted his foundation. If you feel a bit overextended, you could shorten your stride and bring your left big toe ahead of your heel. Turn your chest sideways. Your hand can stay at your hip, or you could reach your fingertips up or turn your palm forward and extend your fingertips away from your back heel. Yeah, so they're taking on a long line through your spine, through your leg. Okay, let your breath be your food, your fuel. Let it keep your mind steady so you can recognize your effort, but also know that you have enough. Look down to the ground. Bring your hands down. This is for a wide-legged forward fold. So walk your hands midway down the long left side of your mat and turn your feet so they're parallel to each other and so your toes line up. Bring your right hand down underneath your hip, bring your left hand to your left hip, and then turn your chest open towards the left. The buffer in my mind realized I meant chest. Bring your right hand underneath your chest, and then reach your left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Okay, use the strength of your upper back to move your shoulders away from your ears. Your neck is spacious. Then lower your left hand. Let's trade sides. Bring your right hand up to your right hip. Turn towards the right. Try to keep your right hip and left hip at the same height, and then reach up through your right fingertips. And lower your right hand down. Okay, walk your feet in a little bit closer. Bring the weight to the balls of your feet. Spin your heels in halfway. Bend your knees. Lower your hips. Lift your chest. Goddess pose. Take your elbows wide. Use the strength of your core, your abdominal muscles, hugging your lower belly in. You can lengthen out your spine, creating a little more stability in your back. And try to keep your elbows floating wide apart from each other. That brings them up to the height of your shoulders. And then bring your hands to your hips, straighten out your legs, and heel toe your feet in towards each other. Great, so turn towards the front of the mat again. Step forward, mountain pose, bring your arms down by your sides. As you inhale, float your arms up. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Now step your feet back to downward facing dog. And once in down dog, lift your left leg up, three-legged dog. And step your left foot forward up to your left hand. Bring your right knee down to the mat. Ardha Hanumanasana, that's a half split pose. Using blocks or the ground, walk your hands back, draw your hips back. Make your left leg a little longer, and flex through your left ankle. Press forward through the ball of your left foot. And then roll your left hip back. So you're moving gently into the tension of your hamstrings. And keeping a micro bend in your left knee to hold the strength of your left hamstring steady. Press down to a certain degree through your left heel. So again, that's not just gravity, but there's some active effort bringing your heel down. If you have space to lean forward a little further, you're welcome to. One more. Great. Okay. Gradually lift your chest up. Bring your left hand to the inside of your left foot. Bring your left knee by your right knee. Once you're on all fours, walk your hands ahead of your shoulders. Take plank pose, so that can be with your knees down or up. And then bend your elbows and lower down onto your mat. Reach your right hand forward and roll onto your right side. Put a little bend in your bottom leg so you're stable. And then bend your left knee and reach your left hand back for a thigh stretch, opening space through the front of your hip. Okay. So as you hug your heel in, you open up space through your hip flexors, and you can choose the height of your knee that works for you. So Chris is lifting his knee up, and to bring his hip into extension, that probably makes sense for his knee to be up this high. You can just choose where you're most comfortable, so you can get a good opening in a space that we're so often compressed into that we get pretty tight. Right. And then release your left foot, roll onto your belly. Untuck your toes, straighten out your legs, and bring your fingertips wide off your mat. So let's take one more stretch for your left side as you inhale, finger stand cobra. As you exhale, draw your left shoulder, the front of your left shoulder down to the center of your mat. Turn your gaze towards the right. We'll pause here for a few breaths. Yeah, so be careful with how much pressure you put into the front of your shoulder. We want to have lots of stability still running through your hands, your hips. We're just opening up a little space where, again, there can be tension. Right. And then roll your left shoulder back. Lean forward, bring your palms to the ground, and come back to downward facing dog. Okay. Raise your right leg up, yeah. And step your right foot forward up to your right hand. Bring your left knee down to the mat. Ardha Hanumanasana. Walk your hands back. Move your hips back, lengthening out your right leg. Keep your hands firm to the ground so your arms and the blocks are like stilts. So you can find just the right amount of stretch with your right hip rolled back, your left hip forward. And the center of your chest moving forward. Preserve the length in your spine. Only on you, my husband. It was actually totally PG, but you know. All right, bring yourself slowly back up and bend your right knee. Come back into a runner's lunge. Bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot and come back to all fours. And then it's plank pose, so that could be with your knees lifted or your knees on the mat. Roll your shoulders back, take a steady inhale. And when you breathe out, bend your elbows and lower down to the ground. All right, reach your left hand forward, roll onto your left side. We're moving into a thigh stretch of our right thigh this time. So bend your right knee and reach your right hand back towards the top of your foot. Yeah, and keep a little bend in your bottom knee so you don't roll forward or roll back. And choose an angle to your right thigh bone that works best for the stretch. Yeah, that brings a pleasant opening in the front of your hip. You want to stay shy of any feeling of overstretching around your knee or over compression around your knee. So we're looking for a soft tissue stretch around the center of your quadriceps and your hip flexors. Then let go of your right foot and roll onto your stomach again. Recenter yourself. Okay, straighten out your legs, untuck your toes, take your fingertips wide so they end up underneath your elbows or even a little wider. As you inhale, press down through your hips, lift up through the center of your chest, and then for your right shoulder, draw it slowly down, turn your gaze towards the left. And here we pause. So make sure the sensation isn't too much. Use your hands for support. Allow your soft tissues to open gradually with the help of your breath. Yeah, but no strain. Okay. Then roll the right shoulder back, lean forward, and now we're simply going to roll onto our back. So you can keep your head one way, your feet the other way, come onto your back. And let's move into an inversion. So this could be reverse posture with your hips on a block or shoulder stand. We'll take about a minute to hold the inversion, so take time to prepare. If you don't want to lift your hips up today, then you could keep your hips on the mat and your feet elevated, creating more of an L shape to your body. Feel free to come up near a wall or let your legs go up the wall if you'd like that kind of support. Your arms can stay on the ground or you can lift your arms. Okay, the first part of the inversion is acclimatizing to the pose. So it's letting your breath process adjust to the new feelings of gravity and how our body, being so watery, really takes on the force of gravity. And how we breathe changes, how we feel our legs, feel our feet changes. The amount of pressure moving towards your upper body is certainly different than when you're upright. So the toning around your thyroid gland can help regulate your metabolism, and it also produces a calming effect for your nervous system. Okay, we'll take just a few breaths more. If your hips are on your hands, move through to plow pose by folding at your hips and bring your feet back. And if your hips are on a block, bend your knees and slowly bring your feet down. When you find the mat again, if you're on a block, lift your hips up and slide it out from underneath you. And if you're in plow pose, take your time to roll down through your spine. Okay. Move your knees like windshield wipers a couple times side to side. This motion helps to settle your spine. It helps to neutralize your body as we move towards Shavasana. Okay, so if you have a blanket nearby or a bolster you'd like to put underneath your knees, then you're welcome to use these props. Okay. All right. So let yourself stretch out, take up some space. Feel the ground come up to meet you and discover through gentle inward inquiry, where can there be more softness? Maybe through the front of your hips, maybe through your eyelids, maybe in the cup of your palms. breath a little deeper. Bring movement back into your fingers, into your toes. Bend your knees, place your feet back to the mat, and roll over onto your right side. Slowly come back up to a comfortable seat. As you come to your seat, close your eyes. Allow yourself to be still inwardly and bring your palms together to heart center. Let's close today with an Om, a clearing breath first. Inhale slow. Exhale fully. Inhale for Om.